Life can be bloody brutal, can't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
To your point about starting ministries and blogs, I couldn't agree more. Father Sean Kilcoley, who we both know, has ministered with some women who have been in relationships where the husband looked at pornography, and he'll now send them to chat with other women who have disclosed to Father that their husband looks at porn, and this woman will take them out for coffee and start healing people left and right. He's just like letting these women loose, or healing these women. But yeah, a lot of healing happens when we use the wounds that we've received that have been redeemed by Christ to then go out and shed light. I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing with pornography. I mean, I was looking at porn when I was 13. Like most weekends, I'd go to a friend's house. I'd drink hard alcohol. Did you know this? Like 13. 12, 13, 14. At a friend's house, my parents didn't know about it. She'd buy us pornographic videos and things. Like this was my teenage years, and I didn't know I was being robbed at the time until later on. But it's a beautiful thing when the Lord can begin to heal, and then you can use that to heal others.
Yeah, no, I mean, I grew up with the stuff in the sense that, your friend down the street had it. In my high school, one guy actually passed out porn from his locker to anyone who would vote for him as senior class.
I'm laughing only because I knew where that was going to land, yeah.
Vote for Travis, I often say, I don't know where he is today. He's probably in Congress by now, but, it was just everywhere. I mean, we were marinated in this stuff. And like you, I didn't know, I was like getting these porn goggles glued to my face. I didn't even know how to look at a woman except through the lens of lust. I was being robbed of all this. But like sometimes God allows us by our own free will to go through the desert. And so he can, draw us back to himself. And then we become more effective apostles of the message, because like, hey, look, I've been there, I made that mistake, and here's how to get out of that. And so I think people who are maybe in that camp of whether it's experiencing sex attractions and pursuing chastity, or I'm a divorced Catholic and I'm wrestling with this, find the community, make the community. When I first moved to San Diego, I remember out of college, like I don't really know anybody, so I went to a church that I heard had a young adult community, and I got there, and because I just wanted to find community, and I sat through the young adult mass at the end. And they said, okay, we got salsa dancing on Wednesday, and we've got this on that. And I went up to the person. I'm like, do you guys have anything like religious here? Or is it just like salsa and softball and all that? And they're like, no. I'm like Bible study or rosary? And they're like, no. And they're like, why don't you do it? And I'm like, okay. So I say, okay, what am I going to do? I said, well, I want to get a community together. And so how would I get young adults to show up to Bible study? I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a 4-week Bible study on relationships. And then all the women will come. And if the women are here, all the men will come.
Smart.
And so before you knew it, we had 70 people showing up for a Bible study a couple blocks from the beach. And sometimes you have to create the community that you're complaining doesn't exist. Because maybe that absence is there because you haven't made it.
Yeah. Back to this topic of porn, you heard recently that Kanye West, he came out, he said he found porn when he was 5, that it messed him up, it affected the way he looked at women. We're seeing more and more of this in the secular culture. Just to name a few, the lead singer of Metallica, James Hetfield, just narrated an anti-porn documentary called Chasing the Cardboard Butterfly. Chris Rock spoke about his divorce and said that porn led to that. He said he was messed up, found a lot of healing, he's a lot healthier now. Terry Crews, former NFL player, an actor. Pamela Anderson said those who watch porn are losers. I wouldn't say that.
Wow.
The fact that she said that is a
Russell Brand?
Yeah, Russell Brand.
Yeah.
It's like the truth the church has always taught in a general way, science is finally catching up with, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we see this in lots of ways. It's just about contraception. It's that way as well, but...
Yeah, and I think, I've heard the analogy before. It's almost like cigarettes. Back in the 60s, it was cool, it was fashionable, it was harmless. And then, like, 80s came out. And, like, it does what to your lungs? That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Because I remember growing up, like, you could smoke on airplanes and things like that.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, but I think people...
What a cooler time.
Yeah, and God willing, hopefully people look back at porn like that, like, what? Yeah. People were... 17-year-old girls are sharing pictures over their phones because their boyfriends asked them. Like, that's insane. Hopefully we're going to get there, but still people think it's harmless and whatever. But
have you incorporated how do you talk about sexting?
Yeah. Well, I like to speak from stories, and so I remember reading of this girl, and this guy sends her a message, and he wants her to send him some revealing photograph of herself. And so he texts her like, "Hey, why don't you send me a picture of yourself?"
With that voice.
Yeah. so she gets a text, and she's like, "Oh, okay." She took a selfie of her face and sent him that.
Yeah.
And he already knew what she looked like, so he's kind of disappointed. He texts her back. He's like, "Hey, I didn't mean a picture of your face." And she's like, "Okay." She took a picture of her foot and sent him that picture instead. Yeah. Like, I say, that's a girl who's going to find real love. And so I tell the girls, like, if any guy ever asks you to send some revealing photograph of yourself, I just tell the girls, like, I give you absolute permission to send him a picture of your completely bare hand waving goodbye to him. That's as much flesh as he deserves to see. Because like a real gentleman would never ask for those pictures, collect those pictures, and share and distribute them. That's not a gentleman. That's a collector of child porn.
Yeah, because people
don't
are
date
making
these losers.
themselves pornography. How do you get that across as well? That like you're choosing to become pornography.
Yeah, you're becoming the problem. And it's because I think what often happens is many women want to offer a man what he's least likely to reject, namely the physical. But the problem is what you win a man with is what you keep him with. And if you win him with pleasure, well, you can keep him with that. But he can get pleasure anywhere. You can get off the internet, another girl. If you win him with your body, you can keep with your body. But like every woman has a body. I can't remember the last woman I met who did not have a body.
Me too.
It's a repeatable asset. And so you've got to realize, well, what am I trying to win him for? And so that's what one of the beauties of chastity is. It really brings a man's intention to the surface, because does he really want you, or does he just want the pleasure he's getting from you? It's like a smoker doesn't want a cigarette. A smoker wants nicotine.
Yeah,
once he gets the nicotine, cigarette's history. Yeah. And for a lot of times, the girl thinks, oh, he wants me, just like a man wants a cigarette. He doesn't want the cigarette. He just wants the high he gets from it. And when he's done, discards it. And that's why so many girls feel discarded, but they feel like, well, I just got to offer him something, or otherwise he wouldn't want me for who I am. And I would even propose that some women even hide behind their nakedness, meaning that they want to show the guy what he's going to embrace about her, and he's going to accept this. Because if he really saw beyond skin deep to my wounds and my hurts and my insecurities and my needs, it'd be too much for him and he'd run. And so I can't show too much, so I'm just going to reveal everything, and I'm going to hide behind that.
This is something I often say in regards to pornography, that's to that point, that there's this irony that pornography is meant to expose, but it ends up suppressing the personhood of the performer.
Oh, yeah.
And this is one of those distinctions between naked art and porn. In naked art, you have this beautiful thing that it actually expresses an interiority.
Yeah.
And in pornography, it's vacant. And I've heard you say something about the Playboy centerfold.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, what's going on here is that the porn star is the center of the attention, but she's completely ignored. Because her body, in a sense, her sexual value has eclipsed her personal value. And to me, the solution to porn is to love porn stars and to reveal more of them. Like, you know, Pamela Anderson, you just spoken of, you know, she shared at the Cannes Film Festival years ago how she was, you know, gang raped as a young girl.
Who was this?
Pamela Anderson.
Oh, wow.
And
Jenna
she was,
Jameson also.
Yeah, and she was molested, and she was gang raped by like her babysitter and all these things. And that's how she was introduced to sexuality. And it was just a world of hurt.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you understand, like, okay, this person I'm looking at in porn was abused as like a 12-year-old girl and then raped by all these people. And I remember seeing Pamela Anderson on the Howard Stern show. And I remember he once said, now, I heard once that, like, people say that porn stars are all molested and sexually abused. Like, that would never happen to you, did it?
Are you sure you're not talking about Jenna Jameson?
No, this is Pamela Anderson.
This same thing happened with Jenna.
Pamela Anderson. And she, you know, oh, no. But then years later, she came out and said, indeed, you know, she was gang raped and abused and all these things. And if you realize, like, I know some women who left the porn industry that I had read of that had 3, 4, 5 abortions, and they just couldn't take it anymore. But imagine if when you're viewing porn that you realize that this sexual act is creating a human life that's going to be aborted in 4 weeks. And this girl is suffering an incurable sexually transmitted disease. She was molested when she was 12 years old. She's completely drunk out of her mind now, and she's going to spend a lot of the money from this shoot on some drug to numb the pain. How aroused can you really get from watching that if you saw the full person?
Yeah.
That's why the porn industry exists, to hide women.
Yes.
And just,
good line, right? That's true. What advice do you give to men and women right now who are watching this, who are up to their eyeballs in porn?
Yeah, well, one, don't try to fight it alone. I mean, that's why you got Covenant Eyes. Things like that are just fantastic. That screen accountability. You don't want to try to battle this thing on your own. But I would say, like, let's say there's a guy who struggles with porn. You know, I would say don't date until you can get over your porn habit.
And what does that mean, overcome your porn habit?
Well,
like, how does one know when they've...
Well, I mean, temptations are always going to exist. You know, that's going to be there. But like I remember priests saying, there's a difference between having a bird fly over your head and letting it make a nest in your hair. Have you at least gone several months clean and strong under your belt, instead of a relapse every 3 weeks? Like, am I making progress? And if I'm not, well, what are you doing to make progress? Are you seeing a counselor? Are you going priest hopping? You know, where going to this priest, so that priest... if you keep hopping to different priests for confessions, they can't smell the trail of your sin.
That's right.
And as a result, you might not have that injury to your pride of just like, I went to this guy, I just happened to be struggling with porn this week. And what were they doing the last 58 weeks? Well, pretty much the same thing. Stick with the same good confessor.
I used to go to the Filipino priest who couldn't speak English
Father
well.
Kwok.
You remember that?
Yeah, and so we've got to find a good spiritual director, because sometimes that'll prevent you to say, like, I don't want to have to tell this to him again. And so that'll keep you in check. You need that accountability, and also just devotion to Our Lady, and just realize that this isn't just a physiological problem. It is. It's a psychological one. It's a spiritual one. It's a physical one. And we need to be addressing it on all these different fronts instead of saying, no, it's just spiritual. So just bust out a billion rosaries and that'll solve it.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be a big piece of the puzzle, but psychologically, are we dealing with my affective immaturity that whenever I'm bored, lonely, angry, stressed, or tired, I'm looking at porn on the phone.
Yeah.
And when I'm in these moments of desolation, I'm grasping to this false consolation instead of learning what to actually do with my boredom and loneliness to truly solve it. And so that's why having a good counselor, spiritual director, accountability, you're going to get a team behind you. We put a blog on the website called 15 Tips to Stay Hooked on Porn.
Oh,
and it's
I
basically
saw that. Yeah.
like a C.S.
That was
Lewis type
excellent.
approach.
It was excellent.
Where I just put everything I could possibly think of.
Yeah,
And we put
yeah.
it's just chastity.com/porn is the link to it. And it's just like, it gives the link to the Victory app from Life Teen, Covenant Eyes, Strive, just all these different programs that are out there. Like the tools are there.
Yeah,
but I remember
totally.
you telling me once that some guy emailed you and he's like, I really want to break free from my porn habit. And you're like, are you sure? Oh, yeah, I do. So you wrote him this big, long email of all these tips. And then when he kicked it back to you, it was all the reasons why he didn't really want to do any of that stuff. And it's like, dude, like,
There's a lot of that. Yeah, cowardice. Is there someone there? Or... No. Yeah, there's a lot of that cowardice. Yeah, I remember meeting someone at a university conference, and he was telling me how difficult it was to be free of porn, and I was sympathetic because it can be of course it's very difficult, and I was trying to be very compassionate, and I was suggesting things, and to everything I said, he would say, yeah, try it. I don't have anyone in my area, and at one point I tried something out. Yeah. I said, well, just go look at porn then. Just you don't have to not look at porn if you want to. I mean, we're in a hotel, free Wi-Fi, go do it. And he looked up at me and went, no, I don't want to. I went, well, quit being a kid and stop making excuses. And sometimes you need that kind of Jose Maria slap.
Yeah, no, I mean, Padre Pio once, a boy came to him crying because his girlfriend broke up with him. Padre Pio smacked him in the face and said, be a man. I'm like, today, that wouldn't work today. But but sometimes that's exactly what we need.
Right.
It's just like, dude, you're not going to die if you don't have this.
I
it's
love it.
And so with the pornography thing too, with women, we're coming out with a book by Kelsey Skoke and Evert Fritz have written a book for women called Uncompromising.
And this is for women who
it's
want to
coming
be
out
free
in a
of
couple
porn?
weeks. We're just almost
Jason,
done.
Thank you.
So it's on all porn and masturbation just for girls. Explaining
why is Everett writing it?
Yeah, well,
Everett's a dude.
Yeah, no, he's just offering some contributions to it
Okay.
because he's got freedom. But it's mostly written by Kelsey from a woman's perspective, where she shares how she used to go to talks and they'd say, okay, now this is for the men, porn masturbation,
Right.
and she'd be sitting there in the audience being like, okay, I'm a freak.
Yeah.
And then when she started sharing her story, like, look, this is something I struggle with. The women flocked to her.
Yep.
Of just like, I don't even sin in a feminine way, and it's just like, okay, we got to heal this broken idea that
Totally.
lust is a guy problem and that modesty is a girl
And
problem.
you have Audrey Assad's talk. Is that on your website or your SoundCloud?
It's called Pure Freedom.
I would recommend every woman go listen to that. That was an excellent talk she gave. One of the things she said is when men struggle with porn, it's like they're all in the cell together.
Big prison.
Yeah,
We'll get out of here one day.
They're enslaved, but at least they're together. She's like, for us women, we're in solitary confinement.
Yeah. Yeah, so thankfully Kelsey's sharing her testimony, and because the
God,
solution
love
to these
her.
things
What courage.
is not the same for a man and a woman. That's been the problem of thinking, okay, this is how a guy breaks free from porn. Girls just go do the same thing, but it's different. The factors, the motivation, the cycle.
They're like, I've had cold showers every day.
Like Exodus 90, it's just like
it's not working.
But for women, they need to understand, okay, how does my cycle play a role in this? How
Yes,
do my other
totally.
relationships or being away from my family or the stresses and stuff
Yep.
and so she really takes it from this feminine perspective of like, hey, there's some factors here that nobody's talking about and how we can break free from this stuff as well.
Beautiful.
And that you're not the only girl who's
Yes.
wrestling with this stuff in youth group and in your college campus ministry program and feeling like you're living some double life. And so thanks be to God, it's just going to be called Uncompromising Purity, and it's going to be her story and how to break free from this
Chastity.com.
stuff. Chastity.com. It should be out in about a month.
So you mentioned the Victory app, which I helped create with Lifetane. Fun story. I was at Strake the other day.
Yeah.
high school in
Jesuit.
Houston, and they were saying you did such a great job. I don't know when you were there.
1 or 2 years ago.
So I got to speak to 1,200 boys all on pornography. And while I'm talking, I talk about the Victory app. Now, all those boys are issued iPads for school. Won't get down that rabbit trail. But in a couple of clicks, one of the guys put Victory on 1,200 iPads that they cannot delete. And so all of a sudden, they've got... Isn't that fantastic?
That's awesome.
So yeah, check out the Victory app for those watching. thevictoryapp.com, or just download it. It's a way to break free of porn. But yeah,
that's
fantastic.
great.
Hey, if you enjoyed that clip, you will absolutely love the full interview, so click right there to enjoy the whole thing. Also, a big thanks to these groups who made that interview possible. Learn more in the show notes below about these guys. They're absolutely incredible and honored to have them as sponsors. Oh, and also, if you haven't subscribed yet, click subscribe and then that bell button. That way YouTube will be forced to let you know when we put out more content.